Eric and I and Tace have been sort of facilitating this. We've done a number of these workshops sort of around the world in different cities, so we've just sort of kind of brought our approach, but it's really all the knowledge is actually sits in this room, not in us, right? So we've been facilitating. And so what I want to do over the course of the days, we've been essentially setting up some basic premises, and then people have worked, we've challenged those premises, we've altered them, and it's sort of evolved, and it will continue to evolve as we move forward. So we'll sort of just run through it, but basically after sort of 2 or 3 days of listening to everyone and listening to an enormous amount of the challenges, we sort of kind of wanted to reframe the question, and we're sort of searching for how do you reframe it, because this is not just about floods. I mean, the impact is enormous. So we wanted to really, in short, a couple of things. We wanted to have sort of a design-driven approach. In other words, it's so complicated, all right? The levels of governance and funding and all sorts of things. So you have to sort of enter the conversation somewhere. And so it was really, what is the spatial strategy to begin to deal with these things, and really begin to let the spatial ideas drive the other components of that. And we also wanted to make sure that this was not just about flooding, this is about water. So it's water security, it's water supply, it's water quality, it's water management, as well as the drought and things. So it's a really comprehensive look as water as the foundation for your region as we move through. And you know, we spend quite a lot of time looking at all your plans. We're really interested in looking at plans, particularly those that are approved, because they really represent the policy positions and things like that. But the idea, you know, came very quickly. Obviously, Brisbane is a new world city. We were sort of reframing that, and it was a challenge actually by the folks in the room. Brisbane is a livable region, and this is really important. It was interesting to see the word city, but then you look at the economic development strategy, and it's a regional approach, and this is absolutely fundamental for water as well. And we sort of saw what is a livable sort of region, and we're just throwing out some words. It has to be safe, has to be adaptable, has to be resilient. Healthy is really important, both in terms of eco-services, but healthy communities and landscapes, and it has to be productive. So many of the words that you're actually using, and it's a growing region, so this is fantastic. You've got growth, it's very positive, and the idea of the top 10 lifestyle was something we picked out of the report. So in other words, it's about livability. At the same time, listening to the folks at the dam and all the technical folks, floods and droughts will increase in severity and frequency. And this became very important. So basically the idea is this is not about technical, this is about using the notion of floods and droughts to improve the livability of your region, fundamentally. Anything we do relative to water should have no other impact than improving this livability. And you can sort of redefine the criteria for livability, but that's very important as we move forward in doing this. And that's really what becomes important. And what we're suggesting to you is that we look at sort of the place you in. Water is your fundamental armature for redevelopment. And that there's this notion of developing a culture of water becomes very important. It is probably the integrative identity, and it's also probably the key identity you'll bring to your global city. This is a city based in water. In terms of scenarios, there's a level of uncertainty, right, in terms of planning. But we know you should be planning for a drought condition, you should be planning for flash flood condition, the 2011, and we heard very clearly from the scientists, you know, the 2011 was just above the moderate, you've had bigger ones, so whether 30% is right or not, that's not the point. There is the potential for a much more significant flood as you move through. So you can't design with certainty. You have to design enables uncertainty, right? It accommodates uncertainty. And so scenario planning becomes sort of really important. And then just to really begin to think that what we're doing is it's really about the spatial design, which has many components to it, and you'll back into that the operations and management and the governance and funding once you can really get the basic strategy of how you're beginning to work and reframe the area. And just for the moment, skip through that. This was a diagram we ended up doing today, which I just wanted to spend a little bit of time, because we kind of caught it right there. It's right. Sort of this notion of fluvial transect. But what we wanted to do, we wanted to sort of draw from the ridgeline through the bay, because one of the interesting things is, even in your Brisbane 2032, I might have the year wrong, you all name yourself the River City, right? But you actually got a bay and a coast, and the notion that this is really integrative of the coastal condition, the bay condition, as well as the river. And you've really repositioned yourself in a remarkable way to have all those conditions, and then that's all about water, right? So you have this experience that's really quite amazing. At the moment, your kind of city is cut off tremendously from the bay and from the coast. So repositioning it as essentially, you've got this multiplicity of water conditions, and you've got change coming this way from there. The bay's going to change, the coastline's going to change, and then of course you've got change coming from here, and you've got the sort of the city in between, and multiple communities through as you move through. One of the biggest design challenges we sort of sum up is you've got sort of this watershed and catchment area here, and you've sort of got the core that we're sort of looking at outside here, and you've got one pipe. Let's call it a pipe because it looks pretty much like a pipe out there, hardened edge, bathtub kind of thing as you snake through there. You've got to really, and this is the big challenge, however much water is coming through there, it's got to go through constriction before it gets to the bay. And this is going to be part of your biggest design challenge as you move through. And what we're suggesting is these are some of your greatest infrastructures in place. And in fact, everything you do needs to reduce the flood level as it moves through here, right? So that's sort of the design challenge through the city, right? Well, I'm not going to say the city, through this sort of the urban core, let's just put it for the moment, because you don't have enough space sort of to expand it. Yes, you're going to do a lot of things within that. You're going to rethink that design to make it more of a sponge-like urbanism, contain the water. You've got enormous challenges. But you cannot allow this enormous flow of water through here. It has to be caught, released, recharged, and reused in very innovative ways back into agriculture, back into ground recharge, and then you've got obviously change coming this way. So in some ways what we're suggesting is sort of the bay will be coming